Right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 251. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook. All right, with us tonight we have Masataki Wasa. Masataki is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's based in the UK. He is also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. Micah Fisher-Kirshner is head of SEO at zendesk.com. He's also a regular on the public speaking circuit. He's based on the West Coast of the USA. And Tim Capper is CEO of onlineownership.com. He's a conversion rate optimization specialist, proud to call himself an SEO. He's also a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. All right, we've got a lot to get through tonight. Our first one is titled Mega Page with more than 15,000 words. It must be the Bible or something. 15,000 words. Anyway, Jesus Sanchez Analda asks, hi, if I want to create a mini Spanish course with, let's say, 10 lessons, could I put them all on the same page? That would be a mega page with more than 15,000 words and a table index of contents to each lesson on the top. Or is it better to make one page for each dialogue? But in that, those 15 pages wouldn't rank for any good keyword. I'm a bit confused. Maybe it doesn't matter and both ways are okay. Thanks a lot.
Well, I would say think about the user. I mean, if you're someone who wants to learn Spanish, let's say, and then you want to have few lessons online, so that you can study on your own, would you like to have one big page with 15,000 words, or do you want manageable sized pages to go through, perhaps one after another? So to me, it does sound extremely odd that you want to put everything on one page.
I get bored by the third paragraph on any page.
Okay, so is this for just what kind of page we're talking about here?
It looks like it's an education, like a lesson plan, that sort of thing for Spanish.
Okay, so look, the way I would do that is, yeah, okay, all of that on one, fabulous. However, you've got to think of the user in the sense of how the hell are they going to navigate this? So if you properly plan it and structure it, then yeah, it could be quite good. So essentially, have your introduction in terms of what this plan is, and then use jump twos. So you would create a nice, at the very beginning, create a nice content menu that they can actually literally jump to each section if they want to. But if you're going to do it, because that is a lot, people are going to need to navigate it. In each section, make sure they can jump back home to each different sections or have individual. Yeah, I mean it's going to be massive. I think quite messy, and you could, unless you can figure out a good way for them to navigate, I would probably look at actually splitting it up into three or four like lesson plans,
I mean, 15,000 words. That's how many A4 pages? Single line. I mean,
That's massive.
It's huge. I mean, and you know, you have to think about mobile users as well. Do you want people to download 50,000 worth of data?
Yeah, and your jump twos are going to have to be big enough for, especially with mobile first coming along. If you create your jump to index, you're going to have to, those buttons are going to have to be large enough for people to use. Depending how big that jump to, your index is going to be, then they might have even forgotten bloody what was on the front of it on a mobile by scrolling through just the initial index. Yeah, it may be better splitting that up into 3 or 4.
I'd be also interested to know how big the file size is going to be if it was 15,000 words.
Well, if it's HTML, it's like.
Anyway, Jesus Sanchez and Elder, that's your answer for tonight. We'd spend longer, but we've got another 36 to go. All right, let's move on to the next. Paul Beresford asked the question. He said, "Hi guys, if I get a customer to leave a Google review, can I copy that review and add it to my website as part of a testimonial page?"
Yes, you can. Yeah, there's no problem. The only thing that Google reviews in terms of their guidelines is not wanting the same review on another site appearing as the review on your business page. So you can do. Yeah, so you can do. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a question, like, for example, what Alan says, depending if you, mind you, your testimonial page, you wouldn't be marking up with review aggregate anyway, because that would be an incorrect place to mark up. So the only place you should be marking up your reviews would be on your actual product or the actual specific service that has gained those reviews. That would be the only place. But yeah, in terms of actually just putting it on a testimonial, copying and pasting, putting it in little inverted commas from, from John Smith. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, and I'd also like to point out, as Tim just did, Alan Blowice provided a good answer. He said Google specifically states that you should not wrap your site's copy in schema markup for reviews. Paddy Mantaloons also contributed, and we thank them for their help on the Facebook Dumb SEO Questions community. All right, let me tweet that and move on to the next. 3 down, 33 to go. Can 2 pages on the top 10 have the same title on a search engine results page? So if you want to rank in the top 10 for a specific keyword, does the title of your page have to be different than the other sites of the top 10? I've noticed Google never ranks me in the top 10. Join the club. When the title is the same as the other page already there. But maybe this is just a coincidence. For some keywords, it is hard to find original titles.
Yeah, when it comes to from different sites, then you can have the same keyword title, because then the difference is just going to be the name of the company. If within a site, I mean, I've seen it happen, but generally it's not a good thing if you've got everything entirely identical. So it's possible, but I would, within your own site, I would definitely, like, it's something that Google even highlights in Search Console to avoid. So I would get that fixed if it's within your own site.
Yeah. All right, let me tweet that and we'll move on. Neil Cheeseman asked suggestions for a ticketing website. He said suggestions required: a theatre news, reviews, interviews, tickets website where all ticket links go to a third-party ticket supplier. On our website, a page is created for each show and ticket booking link added. Target phrase for our page is show name, tickets, etc. Question: for news, reviews, interviews, should there be a link on that page post only to the internal ticket page? And what anchor text? The show name? And or should there also be an external ticket booking link to the external link on each news and review page? This is the option I am currently using, as it seems to be the best option for users. Although target traffic for news about a show is not the same as target traffic for show tickets. Opinions gratefully received.
Okay, so I would structure this as you would sort of hotel OTAs. So you've got your show, Cats. They seem to have been around the longest. So you've got your show Cats, and it's showing at a particular theatre. So that's your page, Cats at whatever theatre. The first thing there is you want to, that's going to obviously be the same show at the same theatre is also going to be on other ticketing sites. So you really need to just provide something a bit more in terms of this. And so your description of the show, don't take don't copy and paste the same crap that everyone else is adding to it. Try and give a really complete, unique insight into it. Even something slightly different. Maybe you have your own type of reviewer that reviews shows, in the sense that they, what do you call them, critics. So you have your own kind of like show critic in that sense, who creates an article on the show they saw, but you could take sections of that or create a different kind of smaller what our critic thinks kind of thing. Add that to that. Images, try and use your own unique images, because everybody seems to just copy the same frickin' poster for all the shows, same shows. Try and change that up. The standard reviews, I think I would add to that page. Your description of that would be on that page. I would leave also obviously brief information on the theatre in that page also. You could also include another little section within that on what is available at that theatre, like a brief overview. But then I would be looking at external things. So we've already said, right, have your own critical review of that show. Do you have enough? You know, rapport with the actual theatre itself that they would allow you to just film the first 5 minutes of the show somewhere, or snippets within the show, so you could create your own 40-second teaser video? You know, like a, you know, what do you bloody call these? God, what are they called? When you have a movie coming out, the pre-release trailer, that's it. So you can create your own like mini trailer, which you could either embed on the actual show thing. I mean, I haven't seen any ticketing sites do that. You know, have a good external page also on, you know, your blog or whatever, on that actual theater, which again would, you know, then have at the bottom of it, it would be, you know, current shows available at the XYZ theater. It would be a link to the Catch show, the, you know, and blah blah blah. So every time, so it would also be interlinking to all of those shows. Yeah, I kind of. And then what was the last question? There was something about the actual tickets itself. Oh, the ticket booking link. So your ticket booking, is that so that's not done actually in your ticketing site?
No, he'd be an affiliate for a ticketing company.
Okay. Well, yeah, you just have to link to that, don't you?
Could always link to an internal page and then have that page redirect to the ticket booking.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you link to one singular page from all of them, where you explain that this, you know, booking here, maybe some little T's and C's, some info where you're going to go now to book your tickets, the procedure, you know, we're going to ask you for your name, the date you want to see, blah, 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 blah. All information is secure. There's no, yeah, just, you know, create a little page. And yeah, that's actually a good idea.
I'm full of them.
Yeah, it's a good idea, actually.
Actually, Tim, I met a bloke that said he knows you the other day. He said you can't throw anything away. He also said you failed the Red Army hand grenade course.
Who is this bastard? I'll have him. Have him.
All right, let me tweet this and we'll move on. Oh dear. No, I've already done it. All right, this one, another one from Neil Cheeseman. Theatre or theatre? A .com website with venues that are London and UK based, but many websites and actual visitors to the venues are visitors from around the world and in the US. In the UK, we have the spelling theatre, spelled T-R-E, which in the US is theatre, spelled T-E-R. Should the spelling only be theatre, R-E, or to add both variations?
So you may not be aware, but in this case, theater in the US is sometimes spelled with the R-E. We're actually quite familiar with this kind of spelling. Don't know why this is sometimes common, not like in our own writings, but in a lot of place names, theater is often spelled with an R-E. So that on itself, you can actually just leave it as is, and we're used to seeing that, what we define as odd spelling. But even then, unless you've got a separate page built out, or you're inserting in the changes by geo for somebody coming in to the US after the fact, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just leave the spelling as it is for what you have there in the UK.
Yeah, I think the important thing is the important thing is consistent. So then, whatever you do, don't mix the two forms of spelling. And I think if you are writing in British English, then I think it's best to write in BE. The reason is that it's not just spelling, it's expressions, it's colloquialism. These things are very different between Britain and the United States. So, it's not just about changing, TRE to TER and dropping U's from color and things like that. You will have to look at the complete package, as it were. So, write in the language that you feel most comfortable in and stick with that. Unless you're going to get someone to write it specially for the North American audience, but then you really have to pay a proofreader to do that, and then use HF Lang. 2 versions, but I don't think that's necessary.
Thank you, Masataki. 5 down, 32 to go. All right, our next question is from Martin Maguire. He wants to know, it's a question titled Mobile Responsive or a Separate Mobile Site. Looking for your opinions on this. Which is it better to have? The one site that is mobile responsive, or a separate mobile site, like an MDOT domain?
Well, Alan went into quite a bit of depth in there, so I'll try to add on to that. Myself personally, I'm always never recommending an MDOT. I just don't. It's a separate code base in a lot of ways. The one thing I think I don't see here from what people have talked about, mentioned, but beyond responsive, another consideration is actually adaptive. And that's basically taking your same concept of responsive, but allowing you to add more content specifically for the mobile page. And the reason behind that with adaptive is that the use case and the reasons for why people are looking for something on your site while they're mobile is actually different and has a lot of different use cases than you would have for the desktop. So that was the reasoning that gave more flexibility than even what responsive was had. That usually is my preferred choice when recommending if possible, but usually the way that most people get to the answer is going to be responsive. AMP is still pretty new. There's plus and minuses that Ellen's already gone into, so I'll leave that off for that. But I'm still preferences outside of that and having a single code base where possible.
Yep, I noticed everybody on the Facebook community SEO Questions also agree with you, Micah. Everybody without fail is saying responsive. I just want to register a vote for the MDOT. I have a little experience in that regard, and what I find is that the MDOT tends to pick up a different set of keywords, even when drawing the data from the same code base, from the same database. The MDOT builds up its own keyword wins. I don't know why that is, but yeah, I think in that regard alone, it's useful. But then again, I'm only one person, and everybody else says no. All right. Let me tweet that. I probably already have. No, I haven't. Okay, good. Let's go to the next. This one from Chase Rayner. I wonder how he's getting on. Chase said, does geotagging images before adding them to a page for local help you rank better for that area organically? I see that Lauren Baker, who's been visible on our community on Facebook recently, he said, yes, it can.
So, looking at it this way, one of your first things you should have sorted out for a local business is your structured data markup. Within your structured data markup, you've already got your location, you've got the area as well as the country. You've probably included HazMap, or you should have done, and you may have even included longitudes and latitudes. Therefore, you know, by adding geotagging into the images themselves, you're kind of duplicating anyway, because if you have got your structured data correct and it's on that page, you've already taken care of that essentially for the entire page, everything on that page. However, it's pretty fast and simple to add geotagging to images. Literally, there's literally nothing really any different. You know, you've already cut and you know, correctly sized your image, the whole thing, and downloaded it. So essentially, there's no any additional time involved in it. So if you wanted to, go for it. But essentially, if you've got your structured data markup sorted, then, you know, it's not really necessary. But if you wanted to, by all means, it's not going to hinder. I have never seen any definitive report on saying, right, let's take this page, a completely singular page with no any external factors, etc., etc. The only two differences is these images on this page are geotagged versus this one that's not, without any external other influences, and see how the two position themselves. I've never seen any actual sort of definitive reports on that. So if you fancy doing it, it literally takes you an extra 25 seconds to geotag them. And then, as you would with a normal site when you're adding your images, or with a normal page. So yeah, fine, go for it. You know, it's not say it will or will not. Certainly can't.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. All right, let's go to the next. This one from Louise Lee. Microsites on a different domain to their main site. Louise said, hi all, I have seen a big company create microsites on a different domain to their main site, but use the same header and footer, making the microsite feel like part of the main site. I can't see this being good for SEO. Any thoughts?
This was kind of a common theme a while ago of creating a lot of microsites as a way to try to have these sites be fully dedicated to whatever the subject matter is. One of the thoughts behind the creation of microsites was that as a company grows, it gets too nebulous, and so the relevance of what the business is about becomes more diffuse, makes it harder for them to rank. That was kind of some of the concepts of why to create the microsite. There was also the concept that then you could pass it off to a lot of other people who can then get paid if they do very well with it. That was a lot of the initial parts for why that's done. I would generally avoid doing any kind of those types of microsites today. It's hard to say what the reason for why said big company might be doing that. But yeah, I can see kind of the concepts for why they were doing it. But without kind of knowing a bit more on the business side for who they are and what they were doing, it's difficult to say for sure what's going on there.
Yep, excellent, Micah. If anyone would know, you would. So, Louise, we're going to move on to the next. Thank you very much for your question. David Sace, oh, this wasn't actually a question. This was a comment about a legal client who wanted to be #1 for his name, but a French actor had the same name, or actress. So the partner must have been female. Anyway, I'll move on that. You can read all about it on the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook. All right, the next one, JL Faverio says, what do you use to test a specific URL? He said, I love using SEMrush, but I don't see an option to analyze a specific page. Yes, you can. What do you use to test a specific URL? For example, domain.com/custom-inner-page to ensure that you haven't missed any SEO tactics. Jason Munn, I think is working overseas now. He used to be Australian based. He might still be here in Australia. That's where all the good people are, right, Tim? Anyway, Jason Munn said if you pop the exact URL into the search box, you will get data specifically for that URL when using SEMrush. All right, if nobody else has any comment, we're moving on to the next. Chase Rayner again, using product markup to review your own products. Is this fine to do for schema? In other words, using product markup to review your own products.
Well, you would, so on your product, you have obviously markup the product, depending on whatever details you're adding to the site, you could go to town on it. But in terms of the reviews, if you have reviews on that specific product page, yes, you can, you use structured data to mark that up. Potentially, when it's a new product and there's 0 reviews, you would still have that aggregated review, but it just wouldn't trigger, it wouldn't display on page. And then when someone eventually reviews it, gives it a 5 out of 5 stars, and then of course your structured data kicks in, and it starts adding the aggregated review to the product page itself. And then as that builds, it changes it. So yeah, that's fine. As long as that product itself, as long as you are only marking up the actual reviews that product has on that page. You can't take a site-wide 5 out of 10 out of 2,000 reviews and site-wide it. It has to be specific to each page.
Excellent. Okay, let's move on to the next. 12 down, 20 to go. No, 25. KB Jamsey asked a question on SEO for a micro niche blog. He said, if you had a new blog, 4 posts, 1,500 plus words each, keyworded, and I'd call it more of a micro niche blog, what SEO strategies would you start with? Any ideas and suggestions are greatly appreciated. Thanks.
Sorry, so what's this? He's created a blog. It's only got 4 posts on.
Yep.
Right.
4 posts with 1,500 words each.
It doesn't matter how many words. Okay, so right. So this is a niche blog, right? Okay, I'm assuming that this is going to grow. He's calling it a micro niche blog. I'm assuming that the 4 is the original starting off, and he's going to grow it as and when, you know, he's can grow it. I wish we had the URL. So well, your first thing is going to be in terms of SEO. So who's this intended for? I mean, if I had started out with 4 pages, who's going to read this? This is going to be specific to that kind of industry. So essentially, look, I would, and I don't know how you structured it. Have you got a home page? If you've got a home page saying, "Hi, we're all things, whatever, pink fluffy elephants. We love pink fluffy elephants, and we talk about pink fluffy elephants all the time, and we believe we're experts in pink fluffy elephants. Here is our, you know, our articles," and then people can click through to the 4 articles, and hopefully more as it grows. So the thing is with this, essentially, you've only got 4 posts. What I would probably look at doing to get myself going is nothing into the sense of SEO, but in the sense of developing a rapport with other people in the industry. Probably fastest way is socially, and getting some feedback on your articles, you know, participating in some form of community where someone will also enjoy those articles and possibly start sharing them out there. Essentially, 4 posts are not, you know, I mean, how, I don't know, is this literally all you can write on it? Or are there, you know what I mean? I mean, 4 pages. It's like, right, I've got 4 pages on the internet. What am I going to do with that? Well, yeah.
Well, he did say it's a new blog. No doubt he'll add more as he goes. I guess.
Yeah. Assuming that these are, you know, completely unique and just brilliant, you know, they're going to be ranked in their own individual little way. You want eyes on this. You want people sharing it. You want people, you know, knowing you exist. So I would say your first part is not really even SEO. I would say just get out there. Get out there socially. Within these niches, communicate, engage, share your stuff. Don't throw it in people's faces. Just get out there and engage with them. And as you know, build kind of a base where you can share these things with, who may share it, and people start finding it useful and interesting. If they find it useful and interesting, people will share it, and that is essentially, you know, they may even link to it, but you know, that is essentially what the online world is about: people finding something of use. So your strategies, right? Keep it properly categorized. Make sure your category pages have their own unique little titles, possibly even their own little introduction section on what those categories are. Don't go mental on tags. Properly use your tags. So no index, no follow your tags, because you don't want those going out of control if you actually decide to go out of control. Images, properly, you know, optimize your images. Use, you know, some great images, because on a new site, some of the things that are really going to attract people through is an actual image. It sounds daft, but the image that appears elsewhere on social, that's been shared or whatever, getting, you know, creating a really cool image is your first part of the, you know, getting people to click through, especially if they don't know you. What else? So we've got 4 pages. So proper categories, don't misuse tags, use images. You know, they're gonna be a good source of getting people in who don't know you or your work. Yeah, that's pretty much it at the minute. 4 pages, pretty much it.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, unlucky for some, number 13. Does pingler.com help in SEO results?
No, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you know, the best thing you do is...
and Tim Capper both say no. So does Dan Teese. So does Lauren Baker. I think, yeah, it's unanimous.
Yeah, look, if you want your new post indexed quickly, just go into Search Console, add it to fetch and render, job done, forget about it, move on to your next.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next. Home Turf India. Please suggest something for me. There's been no improvement for 2 months. Home Turf India said, I am new to this community and I will be greatly obliged if someone with SEO expertise can help me. Where are we going to find someone like that, Tim? I am promoting a website named Home Turf. 2 of its URLs are on deep cleaning and home cleaning, and they're not improving in terms of keyword rankings, although they are working well in Bing. I would greatly appreciate it if someone has some good ideas for my problem. Again, I am repeating the rankings of 2 internal URLs, home cleaning and deep cleaning, not improving. Please suggest something. There's been no improvement for 2 months. Links to deep cleaning and home cleaning with the anchor text deep cleaning and home cleaning might help.
Okay, so, right, I'm looking at your page, okay.
No, we don't have anything else for Home Turf India.
Well, I've got to look at the page. Give me 2 seconds, mate. Calm down.
I'll fill in for you, Tim. Yeah. Let me know when you're ready. Wave at me.
Okay, so, right, I mean, I'm looking at your page now. Yeah, look, I would certainly, yeah, I mean, you've got a limited kind of, you've just got like a basic bit of content on there. The content, in my opinion, is pretty naff in the sense that you're saying, I mean, your opening line is home cleaning is one of the essential and routine tasks that a homeowner must maintain to keep the property safe from devaluation. Really? Okay, like, so I'm not taking the piss here, but I would really look at looking at your content here. I would probably then expand on all your bullet points also. Dusting and vacuum of the mattress. Why? How often? How often would you recommend? You know, why? You know, is it because of dust mites, lice? How often within a maintenance schedule? would I recommend that? Okay, cleaning your floors in the bedroom and balcony, fine, that's a taken. Removing dust on shelves. I mean, I would kind of, yeah, you know, I would probably split some of these out into actual sectionable pieces on the page and expand within them. Essentially, I mean, that because literally you've got this one singular page within the site.
And that content is within like what is this? I'm not sure if all that content inside that section is going to be.
Yeah, it is. I just checked.
Indexable.
Yeah, it is.
But is it valued? It can be indexed. What I meant to say is, it doesn't have any value because it's in one sub area.
I would certainly just put that out into some decent text.
Yeah.
It's like just take it out of that box and have it, you know, in a nice clear, you know, on the page with a white background. You can have your little hammers and thingamajig image, but just don't have it as a background, you know. The other thing is just one little thing. So you've got that page is initially when I click through from your home page, that's landing on a ending without a trailing slash, but you've actually got a trailing slash version of this page also. That I know for a fact, in terms of from the size I can see now on my desktop, that content you have there, when it goes to mobile first, it's going to get even worse, because that content and the text is just diabolical completely diabolical in mobile. It just literally, you cannot even read it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, you can't even read it in mobile, but that's not hindering you now. Okay, so let's just have a quick little look here.
So while he's doing that, if you're trying to actually rank on the deep cleaning and home cleaning, you're focusing on office cleaning as the main part of your text in the title tag. Or sorry, well, for like deep cleaning, you're using office cleaning as the main part, not deep cleaning. Whereas that's the main title on page that you're highlighting. So in terms of order, you may want to switch the order of what you have in the title tag. To start with deep cleaning before you go in and talk about office cleaning. So that's something in terms of when you think about how you structure the page, and what you want to focus on is making sure that everything kind of matches up to the purpose of what you're trying to write about. Also, you don't really have a brand highlighted in there. So in the long run, if you want to start thinking long run, you need to make sure that you're trying to actually build a brand, and you're leaving that out of your title tag, which Google is probably more than likely adding back in. So you want to make sure that you're at least showcasing that you do care about your brand.
So another thing also is,
how are you going, Tim?
Another thing also, this entire site is literally basically full on these similar pages. Just do you like? I mean, yeah. I mean, I would. In fact, I think your entire site would benefit if you took all of your stuff out of those weird little box things.
Yeah, everything else is pretty much a basic template. Is even the oops. Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, it's not. I would also say that, I mean, while it's not a huge deal, you're using the same exact image across all the page sections. So you're not showing that the site is very valuable to users on Google's end. Everything looks the exact same except for that little box where the content is, and that probably is problematic in and of itself. So yeah, I'm really thinking that that content needs to really come out for what Tim's saying.
And you know what I think would be good? Essentially, there's nothing on here that's convincing me to use you. Literally nothing. I'm reading the text, but it's just like, if I was looking for, you know, a cleaner once a week or whatever, literally there's nothing. So choose a service, select a plan, make a payment, get the job done. It's like, give me a bit more information. Can I book you just for one day? Can I book you for 5 hours if I think I just want 5 hours in a month? Give me information that I can make a purchasing decision on. You know, have you had any? I think what would be really good here for this, see, there's nothing. You've given me just the information on what you'll do, but there's nothing that's really convincing me to use you. How about, do you have any testimonials? But I'm not talking normal testimonials. I think what would be really good for this is if you had actual customers that you could just do a 2-minute YouTube vid, and obviously onto your YouTube channel, which you could embed into there, you know, so it's Mrs. whoever, you know, housewife, and she's like, oh, as I've been getting a bit older, you know, housekeeping's become a bit tedious and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, Home Turf just really helped me out. They're great. You know, just 20-second clips. I think if people can see real people saying the cleaning service is awesome, that's brilliant. You would have to use different things for each one. It's like banking and insurance, that probably wouldn't work. You know, I think people would want to, on those pages, people want some kind of, you need, you know, it needs to be properly managed, that one. Errands, yeah, that could work. Weddings and events.
All right. Yeah, go on, Tim. It's just that we're not halfway yet. All right, let's go to the next one. This one from Danny Ladd, looking for a free bulk domain authority checker. Danny said, hello guys. I need a free bulk domain authority checker if anyone has an idea about that. I already checked Robin Gupta and its similar sites, but they allow just 25 links, and I need to use bulk for guest post prospects. I already tried URL Profiler, but need something new. Looking forward to your positive response. Thanks.
Bulk DA, oh God, what is that thing? That's this domain authority. Yeah, that's a, look, firstly, that's a Moz thing.
It's a Moz
number. So I don't use Moz, so I have no idea what you're talking about, mate. And you know, essentially,
you shared a link today to Moz today.
I shared a link to Moz.
Yeah.
From where?
I can't remember where, but it was a link on a local site audit. actually, it was a good article too. But yeah, Tim Kappa's got me reading was.
Yeah, but that was yes, but that was to check their NAPs, their business citations. Got nothing to do with, and
yeah,
the local thing has got nothing to do with any of their. Anyway, Jim, you weirdo. Yes, look. So if I'm looking for somewhere, so if I was looking for somewhere to do a guest post, I'd be looking at. I wouldn't even be looking at domain authority. Firstly, that's a Moz thing. I would be looking at who follows it, who reads it, because I don't look at a guest post in terms of a link, right? I don't look at a guest post in terms of link. I want to know who's reading that. Will it bring me traffic? You know, you might go and find this weird DA thing saying, what is it out of? Is it 1 to 10? So let's say 10 being the best. It says domain authority 10. And you think, wow, awesome. And it's so you go and, you know, and these guys say, hey, we accept guest posts. Well, that's your first indicator. Places that accept guest posts, end of story. Nothing more said. If you have to interview for a guest post or apply and go through an interview process, that's more of an indicator of what kind of quality and authority the site is. But anyway, you should be, if I go and do a guest post, or I want to put something on somewhere and I apply and I get through and I go and publish, I essentially know that there's going to be traffic coming to me from my little author's bio at the bottom. I'm not worried about a link. I'm not worried about whether it's follow or do follow or anything like that. Essentially, if I'm going to do that, I have one or two things. That's an increase my brand's name, or increase my own personal name, and or increase, you know, so it's about, you know, brand recognition if I'm writing on behalf of a brand, and it's all my own personal recognition and traffic coming through, because it's an interesting article. It's been written very well, and you know, it really hit the sweet spot, and people will follow through to go, hey, you know, oh right, where does this go, right? And it's about traffic. I really and honestly do not ever think of links. And although, you know, if you're thinking about links, that's fair enough. I suppose you're in that mindset, but you should just be looking and not looking at what DAs are, domain authorities. You should be looking at who reads it, who mentions it, does it get traffic, and will it bring me traffic?
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's move on to the next. I won't tweet that. Jen V. Akaraya asked, what is a long tail keyword? And because she doesn't know what a long tail keyword is, she asked, is it good or bad for SEO? There's a bit of discussion on this one on the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook.
Oh. Okay, so in a nutshell, I'm just going to talk about, for example, local SEO. So for me, my business would be my short tail. My ultimate would be local SEO. Okay, or slightly larger, slightly longer tail, which would be 3, would be local SEO consultant. So that would be short tail, right? So think of blog posts, or think of, okay, long tail would be an expanded version of that. So that could be, number 1, found within a page's actual content. So let's say we're talking on an actual page, long tail would be what does a local SEO consultant cost? Because, and that could be answered within that overall page for local SEO. And a next section could also be how much do local SEO packages cost, or do you offer, or our local SEO packages? The thing is about a long tail is it's a slightly larger, it doesn't have to include the complete shorter tail, or it includes portions of it. Now, on a singular page, which is targeting a smaller, shorter tail, you can include these sections, which are good for the user, but they also include much more expanded, longer tail, which is normally in your H2s or H3 tags, where you then provide an explanation. So that would be on page. Now, so yes, that is good for SEO, because people don't just search local SEO consultant, they also search, oh, where can I find one? How much do they cost? Do they do packages? You know, all these kind of things you would normally put on your singular page. So that would be on a singular page. Then you can actually use long tail in terms of targeting someone specifically within an article that you write on the site. So to give you an example, essentially when you think of another topic, and you should actually be doing a little bit of research into, or you can use, you know, Search Console or other platforms. You should be doing sort of like a content gap analysis in the sense of what can I also target? Because if you only target local SEO, then you're narrowing yourself to a couple of words. But what you want to do is expand on that niche, or whatever your niche market is, with articles, with you know, user content to answer their questions. But in answering and creating articles, naturally you're creating longer tail keywords. So you could write an article about how does keyword research influence your local or benefit your local SEO. So that's your title for your article. So we've included something new, keyword research, which it includes within SEO, right? And we've included our main kind of keyword within the title, local SEO. We're going to write a great article. It's going to be informative. It's going to be all full of, you know, steps and information that people can find useful, and tips and takeaways. And now we're building up local longer tail keywords, which will rank independently, but also benefit the main site or page of local SEO. But it's also going to be ranking independently for the keyword research and local SEO. So that is your longer tail, which is in your title. It's in the entire article and will rank independently. That will be creating its own path of traffic for people searching particularly to that, ultimately leading to the final product, the short tail local SEO. So I hope I've explained that, you know, but.
That's brilliant, Tim. All right.
Just a quick one.
Yeah.
So just a quick one, Janvi. Yeah, here's a quick one, Janvi. Go into your Google Search Console, go into the search analytics, select 90 days, and then select queries and use queries. How, search for how, check out what the results are, what, see, you know, where, when, if, all these kind of search queries, or anything particular to your, specifically to your site. And that will actually show you, oh my God, actually, this page is appearing, yes, it might be appearing on page, you know, on page 10, but it's actually appearing for the query, how is local SEO relevant to keyword research? And it's like, my gosh, okay, boom, there's your first article, which people are actually searching for. Google kind of thinks your site's relevant, but only because they found 2 sentences somewhere in your page. Kind of thinks you're relevant, but wow, boom, there's your opportunity. And it's also giving you a longer tail. So go into your search analytics, you'll even see people are already, your site's already appearing for longer tail specific queries already, which you can take opportunity on now by creating content around those longer tail that are already there. Right, next one.
Thank you, Tim. All right, our next one from Chase Rayner. No follow on top navigation. What would you recommend for a site that has links in the menu navigation pointing to other sites? Should it be no follow? I'm pretty sure it's best practice to do this if an external link is in the footer, but not sure about the main navigation.
Well, why would your top line navigation be linking out to someone else? What would be, I can't even fathom why.
Well, I think Micah answered the question as well. And if it's, let's say, a group of companies, for example, in different countries, that might make sense. But in any case, they're editorial links, so there's no need to follow them. They're there for a reason. There is reason why you're putting that, and it's not in exchange for money. It's not for advertising purposes or being exchanged.
I see what you mean. Also, a lot of banking in the UK, a lot of banking sites, I've just realised, will have a link to their the regulators, the banking regulator, which they have to. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So, but no follow, I don't think, I wouldn't put no follow, because there's a reason for those links to be there, and those editorial reasons. So, you're saying that these links are useful for my visitors, and I'm putting them for that purpose. So I don't see why you should no follow them.
Yeah, fair enough. And Micah, in his response on the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook, he said those links should be of value, so why would you not have it? Okay, let's go to the next. This one from Josu Sanchez Anelda on changing the date of publication every time you update it. Josu said, another dumb SEO question. Is it a good idea to change the date of publication of your homepage in WordPress every time you update it with new text? Thanks. I have to say that I haven't changed the date on ShopSafe since 2013.
Yeah, no, I think the date of publication is the date of original publication. You may update the page, then you could, I think, you can say when it was last modified. I think there is a schema markup that you can use, for example, to say when's the original date of publication and when it was last modified. You might make changes that may not change the content of the site, but you may have made changes on the back end, as it were. So that might be a technical change. No one notices it. But so in such cases, the information on the page is as of the date last modified, which might be different from the last updated time in technical terms, if that makes sense.
Certainly does, Masataki. All right, let me tweak that and we'll go to the next. I think we're halfway now. Yep, 19, we're halfway. A strong tag within an H1 tag. Does anyone believe that by placing a tag within a tag, you are giving more emphasis to what the H1 tag contains? No, I'll say strong used to mean bold or or emphasize text, and it still does. It's not deprecated, but now with HTML5, strong means, what does it mean? I can't remember. Important text or something like that. So the H1 already says that, so I can't see the point of adding strong. If you need to add styling, CSS is always best. Do you want to add anything to that, Mr. Taki?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you, Jim. If it's an H1, then it is the headline. It is the most important headline of the page. So
Yep.
I don't think you can put much more emphasis than that.
Exactly. I think Tim's still having coffee or whatever. JL Faverio asks, should I no index the dozens of city-specific pages a site has? Or should I allow them to index, forcing me to write unique titles and descriptions for each page? I see Alan Blue Ice answered the question. He was very kind. I'd put a sort of an answer before him, but he said, I will add this to the strong info Jim provided. Did you hear that, Jim? Strong info.
I think Alan was pretty tired at the point where he wrote that, mate.
Tired and emotional? Okay.
Okay, so, right, I'm going to look at this two ways here. I'm going to look at this firstly, the way he worded that, forcing me to write individual titles, etc. So what I'm going to say is that these are literally just a boom, an address, and just some little blurb about a city on it, right, or something. They are pretty much not doing anything on these pages, from what I can gather the way he asked this question. So if these are just thin, crappy doorway pages, I would no index follow them. All right. Okay. Then I would, but there are legitimate ways that you can use, obviously, city-specific pages. But yes, they need to have individual content on them, and it needs to be unique and specific to that city and how you offer your product or service within that city. Right? So I would no index follow a lot of them, and then you can slowly work your way through. Yes, they need to have their own title, they need to have their own description, they need to have their own content, how you provide a product or service there. Naturally, if you have a location within there, that you can add that location, you can have a business page for it, you can embed that in, and you can structure data markup the address. If you don't actually have a location in there, but you do deliver a specific service there, you can include a service, or, you know, that should be encompassed in your actual original structured data within your service area radius in your structured data. But you could talk a little about, do you I mean, it all depends on what the product is, but do you offer click and collect locations within that specific city? Name them, list them, where are they? You need to provide unique information about that city on that specific city page, on the service or product you provide in that city, right? So they have to be unique. And the more, you know, and those will become landing pages themselves for, you know, your service or product searched within that city. If they are done well, they work well. But from what, you know, I'm thinking that you have on the site, they would just be seen as doorway pages at the minute, and they just, you know, little value, and naturally spammy. So for the moment, if that's what they are, I would certainly no index those. And then you can work your way through and do, you know, do one a month. I don't know how much time you have as such. Do one a month, research the city, know what's going on, you know, provide information. Do you have specific courier drivers that actually service that city? You know, add a little picture of them, who they are. These are the guys that service this particular city from our company. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be unique, unique to that city, and that product and service, and you as a company provide in that city. And you can do one a month, and when it's ready, you just, you know, obviously you return that singular page to follow, and then you work on the next one the following month, and then release them slowly over time as you've improved that. But for the first part, from what you've described, I would now index them and then work your way through them.
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's see if we've already tweeted that or not. No, we haven't. Okay, so this one from Paddy Mantaloons on traffic dips today. Oh, it's not a question. Just what he wants to know if anyone saw big traffic dips while the eclipse was going on in the USA. All right, let's go to the next. That's a bonus. We've done that one already. Job and John asks, is content length a ranking factor?
No, not really, because you've probably seen, or you probably saw, you know, you've probably seen it yourself. You've seen a Wikipedia entry that you've searched for something, and you clicked on the Wikipedia, and it's like 5 lines. Essentially, it's about obviously the authority of the site. It's about the relevancy to the particular query, as well as what that page is. Also, you know, it could just be as simple as, I don't know, a dancing cat. And, you know, it's really, 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 really popular. Or some kind of quiz, or for example, that's just really popular. So necessarily no. But I would caution the fact of just creating tons and tons of, you know, thin content. Yeah, so no, there isn't actual content length as a ranking factor. There's a whole load of other influences to that.
All right, and I should also speak of people like Bill Slawski, Alan Blue Eyes, Christine Schatzinger, Job and John, Bill Slawski again, and Eddie Batista said length is always a factor. I'm not sure what he meant there. Gregory Danschotter, Kim Krausberg from Creator Site Forums, answering questions on our community through the week, and we thank them all most sincerely. All right, let's move on from here. We're going to make it to the end, Tim, without passing out. Lauren Baker asked a question on a featured snippet update. Any clue on how long it takes a featured snippet to update after page copy has been edited? Obviously longer than the case, but wondering if anyone has timed this. Thanks. Bill Hunt said same, in a few hours after fetch. Gregory Danschotter said, Casey Marquis said, I had one pop in for a food blog within an hour once. I just fetched and rendered the page and boom, but that's the fastest I've personally seen. Gregory Danschotter, if you want changes to be quickly noticed, refetch that specific page in Google Search Console. Arsen Rabinovich said fetching worked when I needed to remove an image from a FS. What's FS stand for? Okay. All right, let me tweet that and we'll go to the next. All right, this one from Neil Cheeseman on schema for events. A recurring event over several months. How to get the next 3 available dates in schema, i.e. from today, in the markup and displayed. And also, let's say, not on a Sunday. Anyone? Obviously, he's talking about his ticketing site. No, Neil, I don't have a clue.
Okay, so so the way it displays as an individual is it has to have a start and an end date on an event. So obviously, if it's for a show, it's going to be you know, Saturday the 6th of July, or not Saturday, so 6th of July 2017, starting time at 4 p.m, ending 6th of July 2017 at 6 p.m. So that would be one snippet underneath that page in search result. To have another one appear and a third one appear, you need to create the start date and the end date. So you would need 3 start dates, end dates with the time preferably in it. You don't always have to put the time in it, but it does like the time. But you need the 3 start dates, start date, end date, start date, end date, start date, end date. So yeah, that's the way you have to do it. If you want consecutive days appearing, same again. You will need a start date, end date, start date, end date, start date, end date, start date, end date, time, and and that's the way you do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me tweet that and we'll move on to the next. All right, this one from Hemand Boy. This turned into debate on the ethics of the backlinko man, Brian Dean. The question is titled "A Private Who Is" or anonymous registrant details. He wants to know if it's good or bad for SEO. If I can do a quick summing up, and we'll move on to the next, Tim, because this is a really long set of responses here. They can all be read on the Dumb SEO Questions group on Facebook. But it was the consensus from the people I respect on. Actually, I respect everybody on that community, but there are some special people that I placed a lot of store in, and the consensus from them was that it makes no difference. It became an evaluation of Brian Dean's work, and I think if people have the time, they might want to read that. That would be most interesting. All right, let me tweet that, and let's go to the next. And we have 13 to go, I think, or 12. Stephen Hamilton has a question that falls into image or technical SEO. He said, our CMS creates URL parameters for images based on the dimensions of the image. As different sized images are automatically created for different purposes, we end up with multiple URLs that are identical except for the URL parameters. E.g., width equals 100 and height equals 100. He said, I have 2 questions. If all of these are allowed to be crawled, is this duplicate content? I think the answer is yes, but I want to check. Lucky you checked, it's no, I reckon. And 2, assuming the answer to the above is yes, which it isn't, just how big of an issue is this? I'm trying to work out if this is a critical problem we should fix immediately, or is it typically a lower priority issue? Any advice or tips or guidance from folks more experienced in this area would be hugely appreciated. Thank you, Stephen Hamilton. Do we have a response for Stephen?
Ooh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because it's possible that search engines will crawl and index images in different sizes, right? The same image in different resolutions. So so in that sense, they are duplicate. In that, you have the same image in different resolutions, and they are all crawled and indexed because they are seen as different image files. So that, in a sense, can be an issue. I'm not 100% sure what Google image search does in that case. Does it sort of just show the biggest, the best image of the size variations, or do they show the different sizes? I'm not 100% sure. I mean, for example, if you use mod page speed, it creates different sized images or different resolutions or different formats. In that case, if you look at the header, they do add rel canonical to the original image. So I'm not.
How would they add a rel canonical to an image?
In the header, in the HTTP header. I don't know how.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how mod page speed does it, but I know that they do. So when you look at the header, it has a link that essentially says it's the X robots tag. I can't remember. Have a look.
The other thing I was thinking of was, would it be worthwhile putting into the Google Search Console to ignore the query strings on those URLs?
Yeah, I was thinking whether you could. Yeah, I think you can do it there, or for example, on htaccess, I think you can set saying if files match JPG or PNG, whatever, and if it has parameters, then ignore the parameters, or no index of parameters. For example, you need the X robots tag and no index that, for example.
Yeah.
So I think there are ways to do it. I'm not so sure, because I think it's quite a common thing. So my suspicion is that Google understands that this happens quite often. So they would have some sort of mechanism to sort out what they think is the best. And I don't think they would be crawling every single version all the time and indexing all of that in image search. But I'm not really sure how it all works.
Fair enough, Mr. Taki. All right, let's go to the next. We have still quite a few to go. This one from Skylands. He said, how do you know when you are receiving a demotion from a specific algorithm? For example, one website I manage has a bunch of exact match anchor links that is most likely causing a demotion. The question is, how much of a demotion would you expect to see? Would you expect to be ranking on page 3 or 4, or would there be a more severe demotion? I reckon page 3 or 4 is fairly severe. And be down past page 10. Would the larger number of the exact max anchors cause a more significant demotion? And also, would other keyword phrases be impacted by this demotion? For example, let's say the exact max phrase is pink fluffy elephants. You've added. Actually, you'll be listed in the Oxford Dictionary soon, Tim.
The first record
dear.
of use, yes, by Tim Capper.
Oh dear. Okay. Anyway, he said. Hang on, wait a minute. I've read that already. Let me just wait for a second until I get some more. Let's say the exact max phrase, anchor text phrase, is pink fluffy elephants. Would tiny pink fluffy elephants also receive a demotion? Thanks. I love your hangouts. We know you listen to them, Sky, because pink fluffy elephants, you heard it first here. And he said he finds the info useful. So he's obviously a very perceptive bloke. Tim, what's your comment on this?
Okay, so, well, finding out which is the specific one, that is a bit of a trick, really, because, you know, even though a lot of them, like, for example, SEMrush, for example, they will give you, if you're looking at a particular page within, you know, within your reporting or keyword, etc., depending on whatever metric, it does show you on specific dates what they know happened. You know, so we don't have, for example, Penguin rolling out now, but we have core updates, which, because Penguin's part of the core update, and the thing is, we don't really know what all of part of these core updates are. This is the problem. So you may see a dip in your positionings when it says core up, you know, when there was a core update. What that core update is, well, you know, kind of you're going to need to look at that and compare it to other pages that similarly didn't seem to be affected. Then obviously you would need to go back and look at, you know, are we looking at content here? Are we looking at links to the page? Are we looking at potential duplication here somewhere? Are we looking at structured data penalty? Are we looking at this? You know what I mean? There's literally tons of them. So it's essentially firstly identifying what the page is, comparing it to other pages that haven't seemingly suffered, and then taking kind of an educated guess on what particularly was the issue. Whether it will affect other longer tail in there, you should be able to see that from position tracking, or even within your search console. You know, use the query in your search analytics to bring out, you know, pink fluffy elephant and anything associated with it, and you'll see, obviously that's going to take a little while, but you could chuck it into any tracking, position tracking that you had, and see if they are related. I'm assuming they will be. However, not all penalties sometimes are page specific, and if you have another page relating to the tiny pink fluffy elephants, then that page may not be affected. It all depends on what hit that specific page. But if tiny was incorporated within the main page that has been affected, then I would expect that to see an impact also.
Thank you, Tim. All right. Unless Mr. Tucky wants to add something, I think I should tweet this one and we'll go to the next. All right, this one from Jarman Ruck. Yeah, gee, it's a while since we heard from Jarman. All right, he said, I have a desktop version. mydomain.com, and a mobile version, mydomain.com. My blog posts are at mydomain.com/posts, and I would like them to appear on my mobile version as well. How would I go about doing this without creating duplicate content and running into problems with Googlebot? As always, thanks in advance for your help.
Okay, so your mydomain.com and then having an m.mydomain.com will not be producing duplicate content because Google understands it's the same, it's essentially the same site. However, Jarman, I really need you to do a bit of research on something called mobile first index, which Google is working on and should be rolling out. Essentially, in a nutshell, Google is going to be using the content on your mobile site as the ranking factor in search results. So if you didn't transfer your stuff to your m.mydomain.com, it would be lacking all of the content that is actually on the my domain, and you will see a significant drop in your positions because it'll be using the m. content to make the decisions on ranking. So I would certainly do a quick read up on that, understand what's happening, and then get all your stuff that is ranking your site from my domain onto your m.my domain. If that's going to be a massive thing, you know, you may start looking at maybe converting your my domain into a responsive. But yeah, your content certainly is going to need to all go to your m.
Thank you. All right, let me tweet that. Goodness, I didn't think we'd ever get through these. Here we have one from Matthew Mayer. Will translated content be penalized for being duplicate content? Matthew said, we have been given permission to use translated articles from another website. They are published in Arabic. We wish to professionally translate the articles to English. Will this content be penalized for being duplicate? We are not able to add hreflang code to the other website. Should we link back to the original articles, or will that just draw attention to the fact that it may be duplicate content? I'm unsure what the best practice is here to please Google. Thank you.
Well, as far as I can see, no, it's not duplicate content. You shouldn't worry about that. And whether you link back to the original source, I think it's editorial matter. And I generally think it's a good practice to do so. Even if most people who are reading the English version may not be able to read Arabic, I think it does make sense to acknowledge the original source.
Thank you, Mesa. Anybody else? Nope. Okay, let me tweet that. Well, we're up to number 30, about 7 to go. We'll crack the champagne, Tim. Neil Cheeseman has a question titled, Outgoing Link to a Poker Site. No, I remember this. This was not a question at all. This was just a comment. So we'll move on to the next. No need to tweet it. Paddy Mantaloons wants to know, have any of you heard of Trustpilot? I'm not too clear on any value they offer.
So Trustpilot is the same thing as any other frickin' review site out there. They are pretty popular in the UK. They do have these, you know, just like the normal thing. They have a nice little widget you can put on your site. Even some big brands mention in their telly ads, hey, we've got a 5-star Trustpilot review. to me, it's just another freaking, you know, external review site that a client would have to manage and monitor, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot of high value in terms of Trustpilot, stuff like that. Go for it. But for me personally, I hate third parties, man. I just hate them with a freaking passion. Absolute. I just, they kill me. Dislike them. So yeah, look, it's well known in the UK. Whether people, I've never done any research into actually whether people pay a jot of bloody difference to it, but certainly I'm going to assume if I was looking at a product or service to make a purchasing decision, exact same product or service, same price, exact same product or service, the only thing that was going to sway me is this guy had a lovely little fat job widget with 5-star or 50 reviews with a 4.5 Trustpilot review. I would probably think, yeah, I'll get this guy to come and service my boiler. So yeah, the choice is up to you, but you know.
Okay, let me tweet that and let's charge into the next one. Oh, I've done that already. Okay, let's look at another one from Neil Cheeseman. A UK variation in schema for zip, i.e. postcode. In schema, I've noticed it says zip, which is okay for the US, but not in the UK. For example, it is postcode. Is there a UK variation in schema for zip, i.e. postcode, or should zip be used in all instances?
I mean, the schema property is postal code, isn't it? It's not zip. So I don't know why this has come up.
I'm guessing he's read someone else's variation on the structured data. So for the UK, your postal address type would be street address, address locality, address region, and postal code, which you use your UK postal code. So yeah.
No, there is no zip properties there. You can't have zip.
Hang on, let me check.
I thought it was always postal code.
Hang on, yeah, I'm just looking at one now. Yeah, it says postal code. Let me look at actual schema itself, the actual page.
So I don't think I've ever come across that. I thought it was always postal code.
I reckon he's read someone who said zip. Let me. No, even on the local business schema.org, it says postal code. You've read some info there, Neil. Hello, Jim.
Oh, I was just reading an article from Barry Schwartz. Anyway, all right. Let's go to the next. This one from Jonathan Barker. What's your strategy for finding new clients?
I don't really have a strategy. The clients find me. But I suppose your strategy at the end of the day is your marketing. I've never had to approach a client. Clients have always approached me. So, but how did the clients originally find or hear about me? I would say obviously, as you've gone along, I would say 70% of them is word of mouth and referrals. The other 30% is from, I suppose, my marketing, which predominantly comes from either two places. My ones that convert pretty much all the time is ones that have come from content on my site that has helped them, that they then want to use my services to do the same thing with their site. So that's that. You know, they'll phone up, hey, yeah, I read this on, or they email, yeah, I read this on your, and I want you to sort out my site. The other one is through forums where you help people, and you also get the phone call, email saying, I saw you helped this person XYZ over here. Can you sort this out for me, please? So word of mouth, you're only good as your last job. If you cocked up your last job, you know, your word of mouth is not going to follow through. So you're only as good as your last job. So word of mouth and referrals, main part. And the other one is my own site, by providing something of use to people. They then want to use me to provide that same work on their site. And also in authority forums where I've helped a user with a particular issue, then they approach me to solve their issue for them. So that's how I get. But that's
okay.
That's enough for me. It all depends on how big, you know, if you're asking for a business that needs to generate £1 million just to break even, well, you need to look in a totally different ball game. But that is how I do it, just for myself and my company, and that is enough for me.
Excellent, Tim. All right, here's one from Mark Spindle. Do I need a canonical URL for unduplicated pages? Unduplicated, deduplicated, non-duplicated. Working on a site where there are loads of canonical URLs, but the problem is the pages designated as such don't have any duplicates. This is some automated process the developer put in place. Yoast is installed and doesn't offer any light on where to manage these pages. Well, the thing I'd like to say to Mark is that Google actually recommends, or I'm not sure who said it, or if it was on Webmaster Blog or what, but I'm certain they said good practice to put a canonical self-referencing canonical on every page. Put the canonical link in, which is the same URL as the page it sits on, and you'll be doing the right thing. So I wouldn't bother to try and take it out.
Yeah, that's standard with. I don't even think you need Yoast for that. I think that's just standard in WordPress now.
Anyway, you're all happy that we tweet this one and roll to the next? Next, yes, almost last topic for the night on SEO. A young lady contacted me. She wanted us to promote this on our communities, and I said no, but we would put it on the SEO news community, which is the appropriate place for that. And from Australia, it's really not far, but I mean, the last conference I attended was about 15 years ago. She even asked me to do an Ask Me Anything, Tim. I'm not afraid.
Well, if she's watching, yeah, you know,
She'll probably change her mind now.
you just get bored with that, man. I mean, look at Jim. He's in a jumper, a polo neck, a collared shirt, and a jumper. Ask him anything, you people be falling asleep.
Anyway, it sounds like a bit of fun to me. Mainly the speakers are from Europe, and I think I saw any from the US, but certainly Europe and the UK. Of course, I say Europe and the UK because with this Brexit thing, that they're separate now. You know.
Yeah, we don't need European bastards.
Anyway,
Jim,
you can read. Yeah, go on, Jim.
All that Europe needs to remember is who won the frickin' war. That's all they need to know.
What do you mean, the Russians?
Yeah, I suppose they did. And all.
Well, anyway, the Digital Marketing Skillshare 2017 two-day conference. You can read more about it on the SEO News community on Google+. All right, I think when I click this button, I'm going to say thank you for watching. And we thank you for watching. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back the same time next week to do this all again. But